Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. This famous quote by Henry Ford reminds us that our success or failures are determined by our mindset and our beliefs. And those beliefs and that mindset is impacted deeply by our perception of ourselves, which in turn is determined by how we define ourselves and the labels we use. I'm an introvert, I'm a loner, I'm a creative, and my favorite, I'm a little bit OCD. We also have labels that relate to what we do. I'm a coach, I'm a teacher, I'm a homemaker. And then there are the labels that relate to our gender, our race, etc., etc. These labels help us make sense of ourselves, of others, and they make it a little bit easier for us to navigate the world. For example, when I was labeled a highly sensitive person for the very first time and I dove into related literature, it was a moment of such blinding clarity and comfort for me. For the very first time, I felt a little less of an alien, a little more understood, and like there was this whole group of people out there who were waiting for me to find them. So that label brought a lot of comfort to me. But it also gave me permission to say no to new experiences, become more rigid in my choices, cling more defiantly to my comfort zone. After all, I was a highly sensitive person, deserving of special treatment and delicate handling. And when I slipped into depression and really did need help, that label of a highly sensitive person didn't do jack for me. In fact, I had to embrace a whole other way of living, a tougher, more resilient, way less sensitive way of living to get out of depression and move on to a healthier path. And that's just my story. But since I've become a coach, I've heard so many such stories that it became important for me to make this video and ask you to please consider whether your labels define or confine you, whether they bring support and understanding to your life, or do they really just create more secure boundaries around your comfort zone and shrink your life only to what is known and familiar. In today's video, we consider all that and more, and we also talk about what we can do if we find that our labels really are limiting us. Let's start with how our labels impact us. Yes, the labels we use are incredibly helpful. They provide structure and understanding in a very chaotic world. With a few simple words, we are able to share information around our identity, personality, beliefs, and affiliations. They create a sense of belonging. And when we meet someone who shares our labels, there is an instant bond, a sense of trust and camaraderie that's created. Labels also help us feel validated in the choices we make and supported when other people accept those labels and treat us accordingly. And when we use positive labels, we feel empowered. Using labels that are loving, that are descriptive of positive behavior, strong characteristics, is likely to increase the chances of success in life. Because if you believe in yourself, you will subconsciously make choices that will move you forward in life. We live up or down to the labels we use. In fact, there are studies that reveal that people who use positive labels and think positively of themselves are generally kinder and more successful in life. The Pygmalion effect, also known as the self-fulfilling prophecy, suggests that individuals tend to live up to the expectations placed upon them. A classic study conducted by Robert Rosenthal and Lenore Jacobson in 1968 demonstrated this effect in an educational setting. They found that when teachers were led to believe that certain students were academic bloomers and likely to succeed, those students showed greater intellectual growth as compared to their peers. This study highlights how positive labels and high expectations can positively influence our behavior and our performance. When individuals are labeled positively, they often internalize those labels and strive to live up to them, leading to increased confidence, resilience, and ultimately success in various domains of life. But just as positive labels can have a positive impact on us, negative labels can be just as destructive and dangerous, especially if we believe in the Pygmalion effect, the self-fulfilling prophecy that is. If we label ourselves worthless, unproductive, lazy, bad with money, we are likely to attract or create experiences that confirm that belief. Something else to note is that considering this very premise, a lot of the labels are grounded in fear. I'm an introvert lets you know that you shouldn't expect me to be the life of the party. And if I'm not participating, don't judge me, please. I'm an introvert. What else can you expect from me? So these labels aren't just descriptive of little pieces of our identity. The labels we pick kind of become our destiny, which may sound dramatic, but if you think about it, based on some activity that we do or don't do, based on something we like or dislike, we pick a label. We diagnose ourselves in a way. If I go to parties and I don't talk much, or if I'm a quiet person in general, I'm an introvert. when really there are so many factors at play. I'll take my own example here. If you take me to a nightclub, plop me down in the middle of a large crowd, surround me with flashy lights, I am going to shut down. And if I'm exhausted with little to no self-control left, I may even have a panic attack. But take me for a picnic in an open green space with the sun beaming down on me and surround me with like-minded people, I guarantee you I'm going to be the life of the party. Even if the people that I'm surrounded with are strangers, I will be the most talkative person in that crowd. I'm still the same person, still very much an introvert, but my behavior is completely different and in complete defiance of that label that describes me as an introvert. Why? Because my environment, my energy levels, the people around me, and the expectations placed on me are completely different. Because these factors have changed, my behavior is different, which completely puts into question the validity of any label that we use and whether that label can really be consistent from one setting to another, which makes these labels not so definite after all. So picking a label for ourselves may seem very benign, but as soon as we internalize that label from that point forward, that label starts to dictate how we show up in the world. And we don't wait for our choices or our behavior to confirm or disconfirm that label. Instead, we eventually reach a point where that label gets embedded so deeply into our subconscious that the label determines our choices and our behavior. Certain labels can also be situation specific or specific to a phase of life. Parents label their kids all the time. And because children are so sensitive and so impressionable, and because they view themselves and the world through the eyes of their parents, because of that, the labels that are assigned to us in our childhood get carried over to our adulthood. And even though we have outgrown whatever behavior led to that label, because we still define ourselves through those labels, we continue to live up or down to them. We also get labeled by authority figures like bosses, teachers, but the labels that they assign us are very specific to our performance in a certain domain and has really nothing to do with the rest of our identity. And the same can be said for certain experiences in life. There are labels that are meant only to support and maybe even protect you through a particular experience, through a particular phase of your life. So use the labels as tools of support, but don't ever let them run your life for you. Labels describe behaviors, not people. Going back to the example of introversion, this is a quality that an introvert has. One quality out of probably 100 others. It describes only one aspect of their behavior, one aspect of their identity. And it says absolutely nothing about who they are as a person or what they are capable of. This is especially true when it comes to labels like depressed. I am depressed, because that can have so many meanings to it. And unless it's chemical, unless there is a physiological aspect to it, despite the helplessness you may experience because of your depression, you hold the key to your recovery. In which case, are you really even depressed? Or just sad, stressed out, or perhaps you're lost? However that feeling of depression shows up in your life, by labeling yourself as depressed, you lock yourself in that diagnosis. And a lot of the times you start living life in a way that is consistent with that label, prolonging that situation, reinforcing that feeling, and making things way worse for yourself. We must understand these distinctions and accordingly treat the labels we carry, regardless of whether they've come from others or we've assigned them to ourselves. Now let's talk about what we can do to ensure that we are not using labels that hurt us, and if we are, how to stop doing that. Number one thing you have to do is you have to list them out. List all the labels that you use, negative and positive. And a point to note here is that a negative label can be something that may not be overtly negative, but if it restricts you, it qualifies as a negative label. Step number 2, explore the negative labels you use further. Question them. Where's the proof to support this label? If there is a story, a past experience that created a belief that led to this label, can you reframe that story and do it in a way that can help you disempower the label and dissociate from it? Basically, keep in mind everything we've discussed about how labels are created and how they can hurt you, and use that to dig into each label that you carry, take them apart, and start dissociating from labels that hurt you. Next, ask yourself, who do I want to be, and focus more on that. Most of us are very goal focused, and it is essentially how we structure our lives. We pick a goal, and then it's step 1, step 2, step 3. We build a life that basically supports our progress towards that goal. But what we don't realize is that even more important than our goals is the kind of person we want to become. It's our character. So if you know the kind of person you want to become, you can make that the central focus of your life and pick experiences, goals, lifestyle and labels that move you closer to that version of yourself. This approach is incredibly effective. It's very healthy and very helpful because it brings a lot of nuance to the work of self transformation that we are constantly engaged in. And it basically attaches a larger purpose to all that we are doing. So focus on who you want to become and start structuring things not just in your life, but also within yourself in a way that supports that one central mission. Now take that a step further and focus on creating the experiences that reinforce the labels you actively want. I love it when my family and friends call me fierce, strong, when they say things like, oh, Krati never backs down from a fight. She's never scared of anyone. And that makes me feel really good, which is why sometimes when I really am scared, when I really do want to back down from a fight, I don't. So I'm very attached to that label of a fierce, strong, independent woman, and I love it so much. And I actively want to be that woman, so much so that I am constantly through my behavior, through the experiences that I create, try to reinforce that label so that I can reinforce the beliefs that I carry, so that I can truly believe that I am this woman that people believe me to be. I'm constantly doing things to justify that label. And the more I do that, the more it shifts my self-perception, making it easier and easier and easier for me to actually believe that I am this very independent, very strong woman. And that in turn supports the kind of life and character I am trying to build here. So that's something else that you can do. You take the power here. Choose a label for yourself, a label that actually supports you in creating the life and the character that you want to have for yourself. And deliberately create experiences and do things, present yourself in the world in a way that reinforces that label. I hope all of what I've shared with you helps you in some way. I invite you to explore the labels you consciously or unconsciously use to describe, define, and even maybe limit yourself. And if you do find a negative label that is not supportive of your growth or the life you're trying to create, I hope you can successfully dissociate from it and plant in its place a different, healthier belief that contributes positively to your self-image. Thank you so much for watching this video, for sharing your time with me. If you want to watch more such videos, please do remember to subscribe to the channel. I will be back very soon with another video. Till then, please do take care of yourself.